The Bone Orchard. Silas Granger's farm sat at the edge of Black Hollow, a forgotten stretch of land where even weeds seemed reluctant to grow. Seasons of poor harvests had left Silas desperate, staring at his barren fields and the mountain of debts piling higher than his barn roof. When the traveling merchant came through town with a sack of enchanted seeds, Silas didn't ask questions. He paid with the last of his savings and scattered the seeds across his parched fields, praying for a miracle. The merchant had whispered one instruction: feed the soil, and it will feed you. At first, nothing grew. The earth remained cracked and dry, mocking his hopes. In frustration, Silas buried a chicken carcass beneath one of the withered plots. A useless offering, he thought. But the next morning, a single vibrant stalk had sprouted, its leaves impossibly green. He buried more bones. A goat, a cow, even his old hunting dog when it passed. Each addition brought new life to his fields. Corn as golden as sunlight, tomatoes as red as blood, and squash so sweet they could be eaten raw. The townsfolk clamored for his produce, and Silas finally paid off his debts. But his newfound prosperity came with a price. It started with noises at night, scratching at his windows, whispers carried on the wind. Then came the shadows. At first, they lurked at the edges of his property, dark figures with hollow, staring eyes. Silas convinced himself they were tricks of the moonlight, the imaginings of an overworked mind, until one appeared in his kitchen. The figure was gaunt and skeletal, its tattered clothes hanging off a frame barely held together. Its jaw creaked open, emitting a guttural moan. "Our bones! Return them!" Silas stumbled backward, clutching a kitchen knife. The shadow advanced, its bony fingers reaching for him. In a panic, Silas slashed at it. The creature dissipated like smoke, but the air grew colder, heavy with the stench of decay. From that night on, they came every evening. Silas fortified his home, nailing boards over the windows and keeping a shotgun close. But the shadows always found a way in. Each time they spoke the same demand: return what is ours. Desperation turned to madness. Silas began unearthing the bones, tossing them into a pit he dug behind the barn. But the crops began to wither as quickly as they had grown, and the townsfolk stopped coming. "You've been cursed," one of them hissed as they stormed away. One night, Silas awoke to find his fields swarming with shadows. Dozens of them loomed over his crops, their hollow eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. They moved as one, advancing toward his home. Silas grabbed his shotgun and fired blindly, the blasts ripping through the air but doing nothing to stop them. The creatures swarmed him, their icy hands dragging him to the field. In his final moments, Silas saw the soil splitting open. Skeletal hands clawed their way up, pulling him into the earth. The last thing he heard was the merchant's voice, echoing in his mind: "Feed the soil, and it will feed you." Months later, travelers passing by Black Hollow spoke of a strange orchard where the sweetest fruits grew, but none who entered to taste its offerings ever returned.